Hi, I'm Heather. I'm an occupational therapy student at the University of Texas in Tyler, and I'm going to share with you a mental health and wellness arts and crafts activity. What I'm going to show you is autumn leaves with paint. The items that you need are construction paper, acrylic paint, paper or a plastic plate, scotch tape, cotton balls, and preferably fresh leaves. Your instructions, and I'll go through it together here in a moment, are to squeeze paint on a paper plate, place circles of tape on the leaves, arrange and secure the leaves on paper, dab cotton balls in paint, and mix and combine as desired until the paper is covered, and then enjoy. So, going through this together, I have my construction paper. I've found that any color works, but if you have some colors that kind of contrast against the acrylic paint that you have, it shows up the best when it's finished. And also any paint like watercolor would work, or even house paint if you had it. Any kind of paint, tempera, but acrylic has the best pigment in my opinion. So that's what I'm using today. And a paper plate, scotch tape, cotton balls, and then I have just a variety of leaves that I have out in my garden. And also just handy some wipies or paper towels if you get messy. So to get started, we have our construction paper and leaves, and the bigger your leaves, the more solid they are. A little bit easier it is because the paint will go around them with a nice edge. And you can do it front or back of your leaf, works just fine. And I just make a circle of tape and place it on the back of the leaf. You might do several if your leaf is really big. So you just make a strip and circle around like that so it's sticky on both sides. This little Dusty Miller leaf, I don't know how well it's going to work because it's kind of delicate. It might not show up as well with the paint, but I'm going to try it. I'm not a arborist. I don't know the names of all my trees or plants, but I like to try and mess around in the garden, and sometimes my plants survive, sometimes they don't. But it's still fun. And the great thing about this little craft activity for arts and for health and wellness is that, as I'm taping my leaves here, you can get outside, get some fresh air, go for a walk. So it's good for aerobic activity, endurance, and it's also good for socialization. You can go for a walk with your family, with your kids. I took my daughter last week for a walk and we collected leaves and she just loved it. She's 2.5. So it can be a family activity doing this. You can meet your neighbors, take some coffee or tea with you, some water as you're walking. Don't get dehydrated. Here's a little dry leaf. Fresh green leaves might be a little bit easier because they won't break, but it is becoming fall, and so the leaves are turning and kind of drying out, so we'll see how this little one works. this little one. I'm going to call it a maple, but that might not be right. Somebody correct me if you know. So these bigger leaves, longer leaves, I'm putting a couple pieces of tape so that when I'm putting the paint on top of it, it doesn't move around on the paper on me. I have just a couple more leaves. I'm doing 6 or 7. This one's pretty big. Little circle of tape and putting it on my leaf. Okay, so I think I'm ready to start putting my leaves on the paper. So your construction paper, you just want to arrange your leaves wherever you want to put them. You can overlap if you want to, you can spread them out, make a design. It's your piece of art. So I'm just gonna move mine around. Pardon me, I'm fighting a little cold. Put different leaves in different spots. Kind of change directions. I'll put it up when I'm finished taping on, so I'm getting a little leaf. Putting it on my paper. Okay, so I ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leaves, and I found whenever my daughter and I did this last week that if you have your leaves, if I can point, can't point backwards, but you can see the leaves. Here's kind of a maple looking one here. If we had covered the whole paper, the leaves would have shown up better. So we just kind of went around the edges, and as you're holding up the whole thing, it's a little hard to tell where the leaves are. So today I'm going to try and cover the whole paper, and hopefully it'll turn out a little bit better. So I have my paper plate, and I have kind of a pinky purple, blue, and yellow. And shake it really good. And I'm going to put about, I'm guessing about 2 tablespoons each on my paper plate. And you can mix colors as you go. You can use 1 cotton ball, several cotton balls. I kind of think as the colors mix, it turns out a little bit more interesting and pretty. Oh, this paint's not even open yet. That's surprising. Okay. Woo, I got a lot of that one. Okay. So I have purple, blue, and yellow. Some of my paint's a little old, I think. So once I get all my paint on the plate here, we'll start putting it on with cotton balls. And I just use cotton balls because it won't disturb the leaf as much. If you were using a paintbrush to go around it, you would move the leaf where you don't make a good impression. So I have my construction paper with all the leaves on it and a cotton ball, and I'm just going to dab some of the paint and start covering my leaves. So just start working your way around. That little delicate one kind of lifted off the paper, so it might not work as well as I thought, but that's okay. And I'm picking up some different colors just to start mixing it a little bit. And you might hold the paper down some and hold the leaf down as you go. So it might get a little messy. So I'm starting to mix my colors with my paint. You can see that Dusty Miller one came off, but eventually we're going to pull them all off anyway because all we want is the imprint. So I'm mixing some blue and yellow, making a little green. Covering my paper as I go, trying not to leave too many blank spots so that my leaves show up better. So getting about halfway down my paper now. Just kind of working around each leaf and covering the paper as I go. See if I can keep this Dusty Miller down a little better. I know that one. Okay, I'm going to lift it up. I'm almost done. Here's some pinky purple, blue. You can see I need to cover my edge over here a little bit more. Hold your leaves down a little if they're lifting up, or you can go back and add a little bit more tape if you need to. I like the colors I picked out. It kind of made a good mix of things. Good contrast. So this also is health and wellness because we're doing something fun. For some it's relaxing, for some art might be a little stressful, but the good thing about this craft is it doesn't have to be perfect. It's also play. It's good for fine motor skills and dexterity. Okay, I think my paper is about done. So I'm going to pick it up and show you what it looks like with all the paint on it. All my leaves are still attached. Now I'm going to take the leaves off and show you what it looks like with the imprints. So you might wipe your fingers a little bit. So when you take your leaves off, my fingers got pretty messy. When you take your leaves off, you don't leave a spot. Mine did a little bit. That's alright. Okay, so I'm going to take my leaves off, take the tape off that's stuck to the paper. Carefully removing your leaf so you don't smear your paint. Pretty cool. I think for this particular activity, the bigger your leaf, the better. Maybe with more detail on it. Like a maple leaf. Okay, so I'm going to hold up the finished product here. It's still wet. So you can see my little delicate one over here in the pink. This great big one turned out well. This little maple-like one there. So my mix of colors is kind of fun. My leaf shapes turned out. So I appreciate you joining me today. I hope you enjoyed our arts and crafts activity. Everybody stay well, take care, and thank you for your time today. Bye-bye.